Microworld at home. So we're on episode 9 and it's life and death on the Sugarscape. And joining us in the Microworld today we've got Jonathan Armour and Santiago Echeverry, Sandra Crisp, Simon Ray, Sean Clark, and audio by Julia Schauerman and Ed Kelly. And the title, Life and Death on the Sugarscape, has come from a chapter in this book, Artificial Societies, written by, or if I see my name, Joshua Epstein and Robert Axwell. You're familiar with the term artificial life. Well, this is building artificial communities with code. And you're going to see a lot of garish colours today, inspired by the Sugarscape theme. And before we start, I just want to say a little bit about the Microworld at Home project. So we've always wanted to build a test bed in our lounge to experiment with our artworks. Our microworlds are digital ecosystems, as we call them, where we're trying to get reactions from the artworks reacting to each other. And the whole project was actually kick-started by a commission from Spare Tyre, a theatre company that we're associate artists for. And right at the beginning of the lockdown, they gave their associate artists a commission to respond to the lockdown. And this seemed like a brilliant opportunity for us to actually build our microworld. So thanks Spare Tyre for that. And now we shall start. Okay, so I'm going to introduce a video by Simon Ray, and in fact the sound that you can hear comes from the video in the background.
A bit off centre, Nicola.
I can move that.
And the lag is hideous.
That's on mine because it's on there here.
Yeah.
So Tim, do you want to say what's new in the Microworld?
Yeah. I'm just checking 15 screens are working. Let's hope so. So new this week, hardware. We actually did this last week, but we didn't mention it. We've squared up all the webcams in the room much higher. And Nicola's bought a new webcam this week at an extortionate price on eBay, was it?
Yeah.
The price of a webcam since lockdown has gone up by about 500% in some cases. It's mad. Everyone's zooming and video conferencing.
Yeah, but I got a good deal because what should have been £120 I got for 55.
It should have been about 20 quid,
Yeah, well,
Nicola.
that's the reality.
So Nicola's got an improved TV studio set up in the corner, which you can't see, but it's what's feeding in Simon Ray's bee film, is it? A film of a bee collecting honey. What other hardware? Oh, we created a little we've created a little sort of toy studio. Oh, that one started wriggling. I haven't got a video on. Put a video on. Wow, that's a bit lively.
Just turn off my video for a minute.
That's a little toy. Right, let's get the brightness up on that. There it is. So yeah, it's Sugarscape week, so we've got loads and loads of little plastic toys, wind-up toys, which we bought for a project with Open School East last year. We bought about, I don't know, 200 in a massive, huge box from someone, and with the idea that we'd use them in projects and hack them, but they're actually quite hard to hack because they've got tiny little motors inside, but they are lovely objects in themselves. So, oh dear, Nicholas fell off. That one, that's you, that one. Let's try this one. We don't know if they wind up or not. So today, last week I got into a terrible pickle. Nicola was doing well, but there was just too many options in the program. Each week we had new things in, so and we just added too many in. So I was just getting confused about what to press. And so this week we've restructured it, taken some of the ones out which weren't doing so much, and added in a couple of new bits and bobs. There's an erosion effect in there. There's a Sugarscape in there, so I've coded that from the kind of chapter in the book that Nicola introduced, and I'll be doing a talk on that later on. Nicola, you've done a bunch of patterns, new patterns this week,
Yeah.
sugary patterns.
I have. I've got. I can just remind myself what I've got. I won't play through them yet. So I've got a couple of patterns that I used last week, and then I've also introduced a sugar coral. I've also introduced the sugar coral pattern and Dolly Demons, inspired by Dolly Mixture.
Okay, so also going this week, we've got Sean Clark's pixel things, which you can contribute your own ones. That's the wrong credit I've pressed there. It's on this one. If you get screen 3 up, please. There, so that's the web address to go to that website, and there's a little pixel drawing app which Sean's written. You can draw your picture, press send, and it'll appear on the wall behind that, so adding into the mix. And then we might talk you through those a bit later on. We've added some music to those, so there's going to be some more generative music made by the actual artworks as opposed to played by us in the space. Anything else, Nicola?
I think that perhaps the one thing, apart from the fisheye one, we've actually managed to increase or improve the frames per second
Oh yeah,
in
that's
the
an important one,
cameras,
yeah.
which is great. It's all this problems with things like working in relatively low light and when the gain kicks in on the camera. So we're not working with the Logitech interface now, and it's given us better control, basically. So, let's go.
Are we going to put a film on by Sandra Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can that be? And I'll put some music on by Ed Kelly. Oh, I can't remember which one's playing, Nicola. What did he say? I'm just going to go for potluck here. Ooh, Inside Out. I think he mentioned that one. So you can kill the bee, Nicola. Oh, wow.
You're going to do a talk.
Aren't you? Ed's got a big ending. Is it looping? I'll turn it on.
No, it goes to the next one.
Oh, I don't want that.
We've got Barbara, that one's C.
Okay, back to us. Oh. So that was a piece by Ed Kelly from his SoundCloud. His name is Synchroma. You can look it up. Ed's some kind of pure data genius, I would say. How many people in the world do pure data, Nicola? About 10. There's one in Folkestone.
Oh, well, Julia's having a go with it.
No, she won't be able to. She'll be able to sort it out. Well, good luck to her. In fact, if you look at a pure data, what do I call it, sketch, it looks a bit like one of these screens. Total scramble of mess of lines joining everything. So I don't know if Ed was using pure data for that one, but he often does. I'll play another one of his later on. Ed Kelly, Synchroma. Right, so I can see lots of people have sent in MQTTs already. Pixel things, I should call them. So I'm going to explain a bit about what they do. New and improved pixel things. So the pixel things just bounce around, and if I go to the setting for them, there's 3 sliders: P drop, T decay, and T speed. What the speed does, that's the termites, yeah. So the pixels are made up of whatever it is, 256 pixels, something like that. Currently, they don't ever fall to bits, but there's a slider in here. I can put this slider up, and bit by bit, these pixels will drop. There's a good one there, Nicola, go on.
Wow.
It's like a bottle of wine and a postcard or something. So bit by bit, you can see the pixels are dropping down, and they fall down to the bottom of the screen. And at the bottom of the screen, there's little white dots whizzing left to right along, and they are grabbing the dots and they are sorting them by colour, so sorting them into different piles. They are the termites. And we'll just leave them running all day probably, and they'll build huge towers. And then on top of that, we can get the towers to. Shall I put some? You can get the towers to make sound as well. So if I go into the audio section. So there's a, what do they call it, a playhead. It's sweeping across. It's very faint to see, but it's a kind of faint red line. It's going left to right, and whenever it hits a tower, depending on how high the tower is, it plays a different pitch. So it's building up a tune, so we'll leave that running. And I might turn the rate of droppage down a bit. No, I'll leave it, that's about right.
What's the chances of it crashing?
Well, this has crashed before, quite often I think. We're not sure if it's, I think it must be the fact that the MQTT is, the computer on this one is trying to connect to the internet to get all your pixels. So every now and then it loses its connection because we're running about 2 or 3 computers on the same internet here. And
but do you have a limit to how many can come into the space?
there shouldn't be a limit on the amount of pixels. I expect it would get. Oh, I just killed everything. I pressed the K button. Let's start again. So that's the music stops. The termites will begin building the towers up again bit by bit. I'm going to decrease the drop rate. So keep sending the pixel things in. We'll leave that running the whole time through, and it'll build up this xylophone tune, I suppose it is.
It sounds like a marimba, doesn't it?
Could be a marimba, yeah, it's probably marimba. Right, what's next, Nicola?
So
You've got another film set up, yeah?
I have. I've got, let's go to it. This is Simon Ray, I think either running around the garden, maybe hopping around the garden, a bit of exercise. And I think there's some sound with this as well. Let's have a listen. A bit of nature coming into the space.
Oh, that's clipping, Nicola.
But is that clipping on there? It just sounds the sound of
It's not the best audio recording I've ever had in my life, but okay, go with that. Turn his dots off. Can you zoom in on that, Nicola? What's happened to that lot of crane loading stuff? That's interesting. Why am I not seeing quotes? The quotes underneath the video?
On mine, no, you should be on top of mine.
Should be, shouldn't it?
Press 5.
So where's this one? Let's press for that one.
What number did you think it was?
I thought it was 5. 5 or 6.
Yeah, I've got it on mine.
It must be that I've built up the entire background or something.
I've got it on mine anyway.
Yeah, that one.
I don't have them on these ones. No, behind you.
Okay, go for that then. Quite on this one there, it draws directly onto the background so it stays there forever. That's alright, I'll leave it.
So I can get, so you can't, when the crane's run, you can't get a quote?
It's getting faster. No, it's not to do with the cranes. I think it's because the video's on top of it. Maybe. That's that.
There's the video. You haven't got video on, have you?
Is it because I don't have video on? Why would the cranes stop the quotes? That's a bit weird, isn't it? Unless this keyboard's come connected. Which is possible. No, because I'm doing that. Oh, I know what it is. I think it's because I have this on. I I did that Barbarella title, didn't I? Was that one? Okay, no quotes on that one. We won't have an end quote, will we?
What are you saying? You can't get them back?
Drop that down as well.
You can't get them back?
I'll have to think about it as we go on. What I don't know is what happens when the towers get so high that they start getting into the screen. I mean, they start getting too high. The erosion is going to mess up some of the tone lights as well, isn't it? Okay, Nicola, I'm going to put some different sort of music on.
Yep, it's 2:30.
Okay. I was going to do a demo, wasn't I? I'll do some bit of music and then I'll prepare myself.
I'm going to get a pattern on.
So, what's that little screen? Oh, nice. So do you want to explain this pattern a bit, Nicola? On 2.
Yeah, I'm just intrigued because my default it should be nice and pink. It's going to be set in video. So I've got yellow with stripe. And oh, I see, I've turned the outfit down. That should be turn that off. Right, will it kill it? Yes.
Okay, so tell us about this pattern. We're going to turn the volume down. This one's called
Sugar coral. So basically this is a mouse interactive piece. It's very fast. I meant to slow it down a bit. So basically wherever you draw, you can see there's dots of coral floating around the space.
Wow, look at that. Sorry, just to interrupt. Look at wall 1. Wall 3. What's happened is the pixel dots are dropping, but they're getting stuck on the title, so they're all balancing on top of the letters.
How nice. And you've got erode in there, haven't you?
Erode, yeah, will eventually kill top the way. They won't. I don't think they have it in. I don't think they have a sense of gravity. I can't remember. Well, they drop. Initially, they drop. Hello. Initially, they drop, but once they've settled, I think they're there forever. Anyway, sorry, go back to your pattern, Nicola. So this is called
Sugar coral.
Sugar Coral.
Okay, and I mean, actually it's pretty much the same one that we had last week.
Last week we had, this is a more grid version of the coral and way faster. So we have got coral, I can put coral on mine. I'm not sure it will attach to anything. Coral, that one. Yeah, you can see tiny little dots of coral. I'll just increase the size of them. So the little dots of coral fall down the screen, or whichever direction you want. I'm going to make a little pile there. And if the coral lands on something that's its own colour, it joins to it. Well, they're not corallish, they're polyps, floating around freely in the sea. When they hit something they like the colour of, they settle. And eventually built up these quite complicated coral shapes. And Nicola's done a version of this, but on a grid. And you can draw it as well, can't you?
Yeah, so I can kill it. and then start it.
So
That is pretty fast.
Just start with one little clump in the middle, Nicola. And then see.
Oh, my mouse.
That's bombing.
My mouse seems to have. Where is my mouse? Oh, there it is. I'm getting confused with yours.
That's it. So just start. See, with a few grid pixels, new ones are whizzing around, and they join it and they build a shape. And the shape is actually fractal. It's a little bit hard to see on the grid, but if you sort of stand back, you can see it's got a fractal structure there that's kind of different or the same at different scales.
So what's interesting is that the stroke is in the corner, so I don't remember putting ret mode corner on it, but
it's because the next one draws across and it draws over the top of it.
Yeah.
So you can make the line in different ways to get around it. So what's on to baby head? Behind it there are some sun stars jigging around, not doing much. We'll make them bigger. I really love that thing there, that pile up there, Nicola, that was good.
I won't have that in mind, will I? I don't have termites in mind.
So, I'm going to do a Sugarscape demo. Unfortunately, it's on that wall there. I might leave this for now, Nicola, and do it later on. What do you think? I'm kind of intrigued to see how this develops. Mm-hmm. And there are plenty of things going in. Drop the, can you kill the coral family? Nice, look at all the coral dots, there, Nicola.
I'll get some in mine.
Don't look sugary enough, Nicola. A bit more, get the green out. Saturate it. That's green.
Have I got titles on mine for the coral to land on? Or they'll only land on the edge?
Oh, that is. That.
I've got coral on mine now.
Oh, what's that image there?
We've taken out maggots, haven't we?
What?
We've taken out maggots, haven't we?
No, just press M. Get them on there. I'm going to get some of there. They do slow things down a bit. That's alright.
Okay, I'm going to put walls 1 and 3 on.
Yeah.
So get something happening on here.
Yeah, I don't like that white thing there. Alright, what have we got? We've got a pattern for that. I'm going to put a focus on. once the dots are behaving, Nicola. They're all going that way. Line larger. Are you drawing the maggots? Trying to kill the maggots?
No.
Well, the maggots haven't got anything to eat. They die. Oh no, they're eating the black.
Yeah.
Zoom in.
Just
move the mouse somewhere and zoom in.
Ooh.
Tell you what that needs. More maggots. That's garish, isn't it, Nicola? Okay. So, I think I'm going to
Do a Sugarscape.
do a Sugarscape. Yeah. You have to kill everyone's thingies. Don't put any pixel things up for a while. So, Sugarscape. I've got to read a quote out first. Let's get the music off. I'll let the bass up. Okay, Sugarscape. So this on the blurb for this book. Where's the book? Growing Artificial Societies. It says this. How do social structures and group behaviours arise from the interaction of individuals? Growing Artificial Societies approaches this question with cutting-edge computer simulation techniques. Fundamental collective behaviours such as group formation, cultural transmission, combat and trade are seen to emerge from the interaction of individual agents following a few simple rules. In their programme named Sugarscape, Epstein and Axtell began the development of a bottom-up social science that is capturing the attention of researchers and commentators alike. The study is part of a 2050 project, a joint venture of the Santa Fe Institute, the World Resources Institute and the Brookings Institution. The project is an international effort to identify conditions for a sustainable global system in the next century and to design policies to help achieve such a system, which is a very ambitious target for what is essentially a quite simple stereo automata type program. So I'm afraid I'm going to kill everything off. And let's get Sugarscape up. I'm going to get rid of the dots, get rid of the notes, get rid of that one, get rid of them MQ2 tiers, they will come back, take focus off, get rid of video, and then press Sugarscape. So, wall number 3. This is a recreation of the program that they wrote about in the book, which is essentially a large grid. It's about 40 by 40 squares. In each one.
Why don't you stand in this space?
Because I've got to press loads of buttons.
Alright.
You can stand in it if you want.
Yeah.
So the yellow stuff you can see on the wall is the food. So let's get I'm going to kill off all the people. So we've got a food resource, which is sugar, which are these yellow dots. And the yellow dots are focused on 2 patches. And the bigger the yellow dot, the more food there is on that particular grid location. And then over time, if I kill everything off, it starts with no sugar, and then the sugar kind of slowly grows, gets added back into the system. So this is a resource. So then you can add some little agents, they're called in the book, which are the pink dots. So these pink dots, I'm going to reduce the number. So there's about 19 of them. I'm going to slow this down because it's quite hard to see on the computer, but you can see each pink dot is moving around the grid in a step by step. And the pink dots are looking for food, which is the yellow dots. When they get onto a yellow dot, they eat all that food and add it to their resource, their sugar store. So if I click store, you can see that there are lines going up above each dot. So each dot has managed to get this dot here. I'll highlight it. Where's it gone? I can't get it. There it is. The white one has got however many, a few hundred bits of sugar, and you can see it's slowly moving around. So the way it does that is it looks in its neighbourhood, and it looks to see how much sugar there is in all the spaces around it, and it jumps to the space that's got the most sugar in it. It can either jump 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space, or 6 spaces, depending on its visibility, which you can change. It's a threshold, but I've dropped the threshold down low, so all this dot can do is go left, right, left, right. So if I speed it, so basically they're just going to go around and get food. If they run out of food, the agents will die. So there's one here where it's got not much food, but it's, if I kill off all the sugar, this one's going to struggle. I can increase the metabolism rate, which is how much sugar it needs each turn to eat. And it died, it disappeared. Dropped down to 17. So if we can put the speed back up, you get a sense of these agents running around looking for food. Based on this very simple model, Epstein and Axtell start making conclusions or statements about resources. Why is it that some of these agents get loads of resources? How much sugar? Is there enough resource to sustain a large population? I can increase the number of agents. I can increase the rate that the sugar returns. Sugar can be instant. Slow it down a bit. So if I now set the sugar rate to be very high, so there's almost always full sugar on all the spaces, and you can see that the agents tend to stay in the middle part of the Sugarscape, because that's where the most resources gathering away as much resource as possible themselves. You can see that some of these have got huge amounts of resource now. If I kill off the sugar again, they'll just sit there slowly eating away at their particular resource. So if you see where the mouse is, I'll put the mouse next to this one. Put the speed up a bit. Bit by bit, these lines should be slowly dropping down. Because these lines represent thousands and thousands of bits of sugar, it takes quite a long while, so they've got a good supply, so these ones will be able to survive for a long time. But the more agents you add to the Sugarscape, I'm going to put them into maximum number of agents, maximum number of sugar. 122 it's supporting at the moment, they're bombing around. Oh, that's super fast. So I can increase, all these agents at the moment are only jumping the next door neighbour space, but you can increase the visibility factor so they can look further ahead. So you can give it a range to look further ahead. Track the speed up again. Again, they're all staying in the middle. We're not interested in this rubbish area here that's got very low resources. There's enough for 115 of them to be all sticking in the centre, enjoying themselves. So then you can do stuff like, you can turn on Alt. What this does is it adds sugar to one side of the Sugarscape, and then it takes it away, and it puts loads of sugar on the other side. I'll drop the sugar down. Can you see it? Yes, now they all bomb down to the bottom left, because that's where all the sugar is. They're fighting. A few of them have died off, 107. I'm going to increase the metabolism rate. After a while, there's not much sugar in this bit, they've eaten it all, but then they flip over because suddenly there's more sugar on the other side. That's not quite reading that well. I'm going to drop the number of agents just to kill them off myself manually. So there's more sort of reason on that number. So it's a cool little model, and these are social scientists doing this, and it said in the thing they were trying to solve the world's, what does it say? Find the conditions for a sustainable global system in the next century. So they're thinking about where the resources are, how people are going to move around the world, finding the resources, etc. like that. So they're trying to draw conclusions about human behaviour from a very, very, very simple pixel-based model. So which obviously there are some big issues with that. You have to be careful what conclusions you draw, and you have to make, because basically it's just dots and a few random numbers. But for us as artists, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if everything dies, puts more food in. We're just trying to find patterns that behave in intriguing ways, to make the pixels dance in interesting formations. And we don't usually do, we do a lot of stuff in artificial light. We're interested in biological patterns, and, the coral and sun stars and so forth, and fractal plants growing, things like that, and the creatures that we make. See the sun stars bobbing around in the middle. But for us, we don't usually do stuff with where you can kind of read a sort of make a political inference about how they are behaving. But we are really fascinated with the way that just adding tiny little bits of motion to objects creates or means that humans read into what they're looking at and create a kind of story out of it. So I think I'll be exploring this Sugarscape a bit more each week. I can see that it's probably a bit too small to see on the screen. Maybe
You're not zooming on it?
I can zoom in, yeah. But once I've zoomed in, I can't get the controls up. So
you should put background colour on it so it stands out a bit more, I think.
a background colour.
Yeah.
I can try. Well, in the actual book, it's white, isn't it? The background, but that throws huge amounts of light into the room. Oh, look at that! Oh, look at that. Just because I'm zoomed in. That's not really readable either, is it? Is that more readable?
Yeah, it's you've lost the sugar.
I've lost. Well, yeah. So the yellow's not readable. So I've just copied the colours out of the book, really. But yeah, I'll get that background off.
Inspired by Mondrian?
The covers of Mondrian. It's not. I would say the project's inspired by Mondrian. So anyway, other chapters in the book are. And I'll start exploring these each week. Maybe if I find something interesting, could add it into the mix. But the next chapter is on. I've got quite grand titles. The next chapter is Sex, Culture and Conflict: The Emergence of History. So just from watching a few little dots move around the screen, you can history can emerge. Then the next chapter after that is Sugar and Spice. So that's when these little dots have there are two different colours and they can start trading and so forth. And then, of course, the chapter after that is disease processes, and there is models of disease transmission and immune response. And there's footnotes about herd immunity and so forth. So we'll get to that eventually. One of the biggest, I think it was a American magazine called Atlantic or something like that. The biggest ever hit on their website was for a simulated model with lots of dots, and every time a dot bumped into another dot, it changed colour. So it got the COVID, and that spread throughout the system. And that was the most looked at page on their website in their entire history. So people really do like, and it's quite very simple. It's not much more complicated than this. Yeah, and you can make your own kind of conclusions from it. It just sort of shows that, wow, I didn't realise it spread that fast. Anyway, so that's an introduction to Sugarscape this week, and I'll be dropping in bits more of it in the following weeks. Nicola's looking at me like I've been talking like too long. So, what's next, Nicola?
Well, it's nearly time for Julia to do a live audio performance.
Okay, I should say this week, I'm having problems with these quotes, Nicola. Can you press 6? Oh, there it is. There's one behind me now. Wall 1. So there are this week we've got guest quotes. Not that I asked him, but these are 43 dodgy statements on computer art by Brian Reffin Smith. Part tongue-in-cheek, part humorous, accurate statements on the value, practicality, and nature of computer arts. They're a bit longer than usual quotes, but each week we'll be dropping in a set of random quotes, or if you want to send us some text or a little story.
What's that doing in there?
That's on 5, not all.
Oh, okay. So where
5 is our quote, 6 is his quotes.
Oh, okay, fine. There you go. That's another one.
Brian Reffin Smith won the first Ars Electronica, Nicola. Do you want to read out what it says?
Beware of computer art as false repeating itself as history. Wow.
3 for 4.
Strong words.
Okay. So we've got time for another Ed Kelly. Shall I pop one of those in before Julia?
Yep.
Okay.
And Ed Kelly's, as we speak, composing for a piece hopefully that will be played next week.
Oh, is he going to do a live performance?
I don't know if he's going to do live when he's composing it. Like
Okay.
a lot of people, everyone's bits and pieces of equipment maybe.
Okay, this is another one by Ed. It's called Battista Lament. And it's 8 minutes. Right, so I messed up the ending on that one. That was Ed's piece, and I think next we're going to go to Julia in Sheffield.
And her piece is called Forward, Up, Down, Forward. This is being broadcast live, okay, and she's in Sheffield. She's sending it to us via OBS, and what else is she using?
Software called Listen To, which streams audio.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a clean stream. Last week we had a few stuffers, but anyway, Julia, take it away.
Thanks, Julia. I'm guessing that's the ending. It's hard to tell with modern music, but it's gone very quiet.
Okay, I'll just give you a quick call.
I'll put something on.
And do you want to fiddle with...
Yeah, I'll come and fix
Hi, are you ready?
More
okay, I'll just put you on the speaker. Okay, so do you want to tell us something about that composition?
Yes. What I did was I was inspired, having read a little bit and not necessarily understanding everything about Sugarscape. I got interested in the idea of rules and patterns, and so what I did this morning, I recorded myself opening a number of boxes of games and things, and playing with dice and counters, and following rules and shuffling cards. So those were some of the sounds in there. Also, a few months ago, I got into the habit of running up and down stairs, spiral staircases, and I used some of the recordings from that, combined with some old sounds that I had on synthesizer and bell sounds and stuff like that. And I've got rainfall in there based on the soundscapes that I've been recording since lockdown, going out and about in Sheffield. So that was rainfall on Dobbin Hill. And so it was just a mix, and as before, as last week, I just completed putting all the tracks together, ready to go live.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for sharing more sounds with us, and Jill will be doing this every week, and we're hoping that we can introduce some more live feeds of work happening, maybe performance, more live music. So basically, if anyone's interested, let us know. We've got details on the website. So thanks again,
Yes.
Julia.
Yeah, I was just going to say the storyteller Artu Prashar has contacted me to say that she's going to send me some vocal track to include.
Brilliant.
And just as another mention of ingredient, there was sugar. I recorded myself pouring and spooning sugar.
Lovely.
To go with the title track.
Brilliant. All right. Cheers, Julia. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks for enjoying the show. Anyway.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Okay, so we've got a few more things in the mix. You might have noticed Tim cleverly escaping a program earlier. So it wasn't crashed by the computer, but it's crashed by the human. So we're coming up to the last quarter of the show, but I'll just say that behind, I've got Sandra Chris' very detailed video going on behind on wall 2. And in front of it, I've got this Dolly Demon pattern. So inspired, the colours drawn literally from Dolly mixture. And we're just going to... Tim, did you have anything you wanted to say about...
Yeah, how does that pattern work, Nicola?
It's racing demons. So actually, Tim, I will defer to you. I understand. I don't think I can articulate.
Is this what we did with Sonata years back?
It is.
Okay. So, yeah, again, it's on a grid in a very small square, so you can't quite see. But can you kill the pattern off altogether?
Yeah.
We'll just start with random. So every pixel on the grid gets given a random
I tell you what,
colour.
I can start.
That's it. Yeah. So, and each pixel has a rule. It looks like Nick's got about 7 or 8 colours here. Each colour is trying to get to the next colour. And if it finds the next colour in the sequence, 7 different colours or 8 different colours, then it turns into that colour, so it spreads. So, just from chaotic start, if you press chaos again, Nicola. So initially you could just have a completely random grid, and little loops of pixels in the right colour sequence will find each other, and that creates this spiraling pattern. And then we've added in some more variety of the way that the pattern colours follow each other, so they can maybe follow their neighbour, or maybe follow 2 people ahead, and so forth. So you get these cool pattern effects. And I can see there's a mini mouse on the background there, so if I kill that off, you get a bit more brighter. So this is a really good contemplative one. I like looking at this one.
I'm just going to feed Sandra's in the background there.
Mine.
Yeah,
It's because it's Sugarscape Week, it's just collected a bunch of kind of cheesy synth loops that I had lying around. So some of these were used for the that video we did years back. And one in particular, which is a big rotation one, you want that one? Well, not too good, it's not bedroom.
Sounds like the Exorcist.
Let's get some motion, Nicola. Let's get everything moving. It's pink.
Jonathan's ready.
Is that where's that sound coming from, Nicola? Is that yours or mine? The piano noise.
Is it behind you?
No, it's these things. Okay, yes, I think the pixel things make a noise every time they hit the wall. It's dropping down a bit. Don't stop the crane, Nicola. Causes problems. Get that notice going, bring in the trombone. Video, remember to put the focus on this. It starts a little bit twitch.
You won't have it in mind. You won't have it in mind video happening then. This one, this is going to be
Focus, yeah. It moves the face. Should I move it? Right, I thought it was a bit circular with the screen if it's on. See you in a second, maybe it's going to press that. is recording now because the sound of the termites is playing in the mix. So the sound you can hear is created by the termites playing the pixel thing drops, and also the biogenics. Did you want to talk about the biogenics, Nicola?
Yes, I'll talk about that, and then
I'll
we'll
turn the
move
sound
to
off so
our
we can
final piece of sound. So maybe, which wall should we put them on? Maybe we'll put them on wall 1. I think I'm going to put them on this wall. Okay, so if I just kill the sun stars
The
off.
biogenics used to be called the animalcules.
Well, we've still got animalcules. So.
Why they've changed.
And let me just make that. If I just get rid of the video, and I'll just introduce some. I might get rid of the notes actually. And back to biogenics. Okay, so I'm just putting some up.
So to introduce this, we should say that in this room we're running, essentially we're running one program 4 times on different machines. So there's on wall 2, this has got 2 different projections, one on top of the other. One of them is showing more of the videos that people send in, and then we can layer stuff on top of that. But all the programs are the same, and called Sea People, which was initially came from footage that Nicola took of people on Margate Beach last year.
I'll just get those
and then we converted them into little patterns. You can see them on Sandra's layer, the yellow figures.
I'm making them white so you can see them, yeah.
So then as a development from that, Nicola got some more beach footage and combined them into these geometrical patterns, which you can see well on wall 3 at the minute, or wall 1 or 3.
Yeah. So when we Animalcules was made, I think we started making it in 2010 or something maybe, and it was inspired by microorganisms, and all of the pieces were made from human body parts, ours. They're portraits basically, and then the biogenic city creatures. I mentioned them maybe 2 weeks ago as part of the biogenic city weekend. But these are, so the inside you've got amoeba, and the amoeba, it's difficult to see, but you can see them on a website. The amoeba are made up by clusters of people swimming in the sea, and in this case it was footage, Creative Commons footage of a very crowded beach in China, and then I took big towers, photographs of big towers from around the world, again Creative Commons imagery, and created these shells or casings. So in particular they reference foraminifera and radiolarians who build...
Are they protists, Nicola?
They are.
Is that a general term? Because you called them that at one point.
Yeah, well, unsurprisingly, creatures belong to many groups, and people are not sure. I mean, Protista was wiped off out of the kingdom.
We tend not to call our things too complicated names, and we do use biological names, but protest was probably a bit too complicated. But we thought biogenic was quite a good one because sand is biogenic, for example.
Okay, so we're now going to move to the Sugar Rush section. So I'm going to introduce a film by Jonathan Armour and, Santiago Echeverri. Did I get that name right?
Echeverri, yeah.
Echeverri. This is actually a piece thinking about orgasm, and I was thinking about a sugar rush and actually, or excitement and happiness. Sorry, Jonathan, you weren't riffing here, but ecstasy. So I'm going to click off that. I'm going to get rid of the humans, and I'm going to get rid of the patterns.
You want to just raw?
And it's going to be fed in, and hopefully I've got my video settings Because I want
There's a
one.
weird quote to start off with. So that'll be gutty.
Okay. And I'm going to feed in the sound.
Now, I'll kill that, should I kill that twinkling sound from the background?
Yeah, it's about. Is that about right?
No, louder. Okay.
And this piece is called Rooster. We put it on. It'd be good if we could see it, wouldn't it? You see. We'll start feeding it into the rest of the room. Do you want it louder still?
Yeah.
I'd like to have some
Is back.
Okay, go dancing in the back. That's nice. S. Sunstars? It's nice when you do a zoom with the bubbles, you get two layers of them. Sure. I'm going to bring some roots in.
Good idea. You can't drag the amoeba, it's just going to track. Can you get that blue off that background on Jonathan's? Make it black as Oh, that's good. It's dancing with the amoeba, Nicola.
That was great. Beautiful. Can you make your amoeba less opaque, having it transparent?
More transparent?
No, less.
No.
Just in, yeah. So what's going on with this one?
I don't need to fix that one. There's amoebas.
Amoeba.
Cool. I don't flag us from George. What we could do next, I'm going to turn all the audio on. Shall I turn loads more audio on? Turn loads more audio on. Loads and loads of noise. That's good. More noise. I'll unwind the noise. Nicholas getting a headache. That woke the neighbours up. It wasn't that loud. So Nicola, I've got to play you a nice tune then.
Very good.
I could play Sunny Margate. There's about 300 on the beach today. I think I'll play this one instead. This is what happens when you... plug a VST in and press one button. Looks like this is the Tyrrell Rainpad VST. Right, I want spin. I want everything spinning, Nicola.
Well, we need to get the toys on. Okay, so next week the theme is the world, the flesh, and the devil.
Your phone's ringing, Nicola.
See what's happening. Hello?
Yeah, the theme is one of our favourites. We come back to a lot. Is the world, the flesh, and the devil. It was a small book written by J.D. Bernal in about 1930s, who was a biologist, a socialist, and this book is about the very, very far distant future of humans who evolved from slug-like creatures with prosthetic attachments to hollowing out a meteor, abandoning Earth, to becoming a giant, single, multi-nodal consciousness. So 3 stages, the world, the flesh, and the devil. And we'll be playing some video clips that we made in the very early days of this group. Genetic Moo existed before we've been doing this computer stuff. We used to be a film collective with up to about, I don't know, 10 members or something at one point.
Yeah.
So we're rooting through some old CDs the other day and found a bunch of footage that we filmed. We used to share our video cameras and so forth. This is back in about 2000, and got some footage that we never turned into anything. So we're going to be using that, and it was called The World, the Flesh and the Devil. But it didn't develop. So we'll be showing a bunch of our old video clips, but we welcome you to send in any of your video clips as well, and also sound clips. We can either take kind of pre-recorded sound, or if you want to have a go at doing a live stream from wherever you are, we can set that up too.
And I think we have to emphasise that we've been doing this for 10 weeks and we are still battling with the setup.
Only one clash today? Was it one?
I mean, my refilming from a monitor screen is a bit, it
suits
okay.
a certain type of footage. There's no point sending us something that you want to be perfectly projected and crisply presented and so forth like this. Just send us something in that's kind of lively and that we can work with. You can see what type of stuff we're generating here.
But we can also now introduce some of the films in the programmes as well. So
yeah, and add effects, sort of inline effects, I suppose you'd call that. So we're going to finish just by getting everything rotating. Is that the idea, Nicola?
Yeah.
We've got a platter, a rotating platter.
I just want to say apologies not to respond to the chat. My computer gave up. We're using, I think, 3 different internet servers, and the one I was using collapsed. So I'm just typing message. Basically, any questions you've got, especially if it helps you make decisions on what you want to add next, email us info@geneticmoo.com and get into dialogue about what it is you want to do and how it can,
We're obviously interested in digital type things, but we do take anything. We had some drawings last week, didn't we, Nicola?
Yep. Simon Ray's been regularly sending in, so thanks, Simon. And thanks, everyone. Brilliant work to work with. Sandra, I think I managed to show 2 of your films, so we'll hold on to them. I'll stick another one on now. And please send more. So World, Flesh and the Devil. The World, Flesh and the Devil. We will all be gastropods, metal gastropods. Did you explain that?
That was only the first stage, Nicola.
Wow, that's true.
That's the starting point.
Okay, I'm gonna
I'll get Zooids working next week, Nicola, because that's a networked thing and they join together, which is sort of relevant to that theme.
Okay.
Do you want some music, or Sandra got music?
Yeah. No, there's no music.
Okay, I found one. I don't know what. This is a different one. I can't really know how to describe this one. It says XWAF vibes.
XWAF 5.
Sugarscape music.
Okay, so Sandra. Oh God, now I've done what's in it. I decided to crash the program. Oh dear, my needle. It happens. Oh well, it's reset the program anyway. So Sandra, soft focus.
It'll get there.
Yeah. So I'll add. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. Okay, an end of a rather sickly Microworld. Hope the colours were garish enough for everyone. And look forward to seeing you next week for the World Special Day.